You're now listening to Auxakai. This is the Lion's Den. Woo! Peace, family. Welcome back to another episode of The Lion's Den, now premiering underneath the network of awareness. Peace, family. Yes, so today's episode is, what is a 3D mind and a 2D mind? Now, in short terms, I want to break it down like this because we're going to hop right into this. Without further ado, let's get into this. Yes. All right, let's start here. A 3D mind, in other words, a three-dimensional thinker. A three-dimensional thinker, I want to give you the accurate definition. So, you get an idea. I always like to back up my facts with receipts. Receipts to me is solid proof. You know what I mean? I'm a thorough believer of doing my research before distributing information out to listeners. You have to. In today's time, you have to. So what a three-dimensional thinker is, a three-dimensional thinking support thought movements, pursuit of new ideas. What do you consider which new ideas emerge when you broaden, deepen, or shift your thinking concerns a certain problem, a certain challenge, a trend, or an event? So in other words, you're thinking the long haul. You're thinking about the future. You're assessing the possibilities of decisions that you make. It's almost like, in other words, like the game of chess. You know, the difference with checkers and chess, I mean, they both require thought process, but chess is a little bit more advanced. You have to, for the most part, be comfortable with your decision that you're making, understand your opponent, never underestimate your opponent, and be calculated about what you're doing. You already had thoughts and you looked at possibilities before you made a move in chess. You know, checkers, it's similar, but it's a little bit more on a two-dimensional thinking process. That's the difference with chess and checkers. Checkers is a three-dimensional game. Chess is the three-dimensional game and checkers is a two-dimensional game. It requires more thought and process, but your moves could be more easier. You know what I mean? So we're going to get into all of this, So men, understand this. When it comes to your mind, the way you think, the Most High God, the Most High created us as men to be a three-dimensional thinkers. Now, before I get in depth with this, let me say that there's also three-dimensional women thinkers too. But for the most part, men, this is naturally hardwired into you. As long as you know how to tap in and you broaden your thinking capacity. So what that means is, for one, the human mind is all right, let me give you an example. The human mind, in other words, how the Most High created us as humans. Our mind is like a computer. It literally is. What I mean by that, you ever heard somebody say a mind's a terrible thing to waste, or there's nothing you can't do as long as you put your mind to it. If you give it more on a three-dimensional scale thinking level, if you give it thought, your mind controls a lot more than what you think. What I mean by that, if you look, our minds is like when you are, all right, let me give another example. I like to do examples because it gives certain people an understanding and, more of a structure to what I'm getting to. Let's say you was riding your bike, right? And you fell off your bike. You hit a pothole. The pothole sent you flying over your bar handles. You scraped up your knee. You got a couple of cuts and bruises, right? Automatically, your mind is telling you that you're in danger. Your mind is telling you that you, after you fell and flew over the handlebars and hit the pavement, your mind is essentially telling you did damage to your body. So it inflicts pain to your narrow senses, which is in your mind. You know what I mean? So now you know what pain is. You know what I mean? Pain, like, I scraped up my knee, I'm hurting, now it's bleeding. Without you knowing it, within minutes of that happening, your mind already started sending certain white cells to your cuts and your wounds. So your mind is essentially preparing a healing process. And in other words, your mind is healing your body without you having to really think about it much. It's like, it comes natural. You can't control the healing process. I mean, you can enhance it. There's certain things you could do to enhance it. Like, we're not going to get too deep in that. I want to keep it pretty much on, a basis thing here. But, your mind essentially is telling you, you hurt yourself. You scraped up your knee. You're bleeding. Don't worry. This, for the most part, you would go ahead and clean your cuts and your wounds, so you don't have no bacteria infections and it doesn't get infected. So while you doing all that, your mind's already established that certain white blood cells have to go to this cut and wound so it can patch up the damages caused to your tissues and, begin the healing process. And normally what enhance the healing process is it's several to 10 different things. But for the most part, without you taking anything to enhance it, by you just simply clean up your cuts, putting a Band-Aid or something on it, your mind's already begin healing it. So the moment you lay down to go to sleep that night, it's going to hurt. It's going to be sore. But the more you sleep, the more your body has a chance to focus because all your energy is being relaxed now. So your energy and your mind is telling your body, all right, I have to send certain blood cells. Now that he's not moving around, we're not moving around, we're sitting still. I have to send blood to heal, white blood cells to heal up these wounds and patches and cuts. Now that he's sleeping, I can send more blood cells rather than him moving around or me moving around. Your mind is a beautiful thing. It's literally like a computer CPU, literally. So now we have an understanding about what your mind is. Let's talk about a three-dimensional mind. Everybody who knows the word 3D, they think of something with sides and shapes. Even like, let's say a 3D cube. You're going to see the side on the right, the side on the left. You're going to even see the top. But your mind already envisioned two other sides on that block. You know what I mean? So you're going to see that whole 3D cutout. You ever saw a 3D cube where you already know it's a block, it's a cube. There's different sizes, even though I can't see it, but I know they're there. That's what a three-dimensional mind is. Where a two-dimensional mind, you would just have a square. So a square would just be, 1, 2, 3, 4 corners. You know what I mean? You see the top, the bottom, left, and right. Where a 3D square to where a 3D square, three-dimensional square, 6 sizes to it. Even though you can't see the other ones as visual, there's a top, bottom, and there's like 4 other sides to it. So, in other words, you're seeing things that's not there. Three-dimensional mind, in other words, in short, simple-minded words, you're thinking about the long haul. You're thinking about what can be. You're assessing the possibilities, what can be there. You know what I mean? You already know it might be there, even though you can't see it, but your mind is telling you. So in other words, let me give you a breakdown, and this is how we're going to do this one. Let's say, how can I put this? Let's say it's this dude named John, who's a three-dimensional thinker, and it's a dude named Mike, who's a two-dimensional thinker. Now, John and Mike, let's say they both work at a retail store, and I don't know, let's say they're making $15 an hour, right? Now, John, who's a three-dimensional thinker, he gets his check, his bills and stuff is already paid for. So let's say he have a check for $800 or $700 that week. Let's say $700 for that week. He put in the overtime, whatever. Both of them, we're going to say John and Mike both have a check of $700. Now, John, he already has both of them have their expenses paid for. Bills, everything was paid for last check. And, everything was just pretty much paid for. They both, all their expenses, whatever it takes for them to live, everything is paid for. They paid last check. We hypothetically speaking. So John is looking like, I want to save half of this check. He got $700. So let's say he decided to put $400 in a savings account. He decided, I got $300 left. So out that $300, I'm going to take $150 and let's say he said, I'm going to take $200. And instead of me going buying anything, I'm going to put this into a stock market or into the stock market. And this $100 is for my personal spendings, whatever I want to get, food, etc. It's his own personal expense right now. This $100, he can do whatever he wants. Where Mike has the same amount of money as John did, $700. But Mike breaks down his check differently than John. As a two-dimensional thinker, Mike is like, I already had my bills is paid for. I got $700. I saw them sneakers I wanted. Let's say Jordans. The Jordans just came out, They're about $300, So I want to take $300 of this, my check, and buy those Jordans. So automatically, John is down to $400? Out that $400, he said, I want to go on a date with this somebody my girlfriend. I'm dating my girlfriend. We haven't been out, so I want to take her out. We're going to have a good dinner. We're going to go to a movies, and we're just going to enjoy the weekend, whatever comes. I'm not thinking about money. So that $400 dropped down to Mike having $100 after everything was said and done, his dates and et cetera, with his girlfriend. So now he's down to $100. He's like, I'm going to keep this because I don't got much money. I got to think about gas. I got to think about food for another week. Let me just go ahead and I'll put that towards that. So in another short terms, John took some money, sat to the side, invested, and spent $100 on himself, where Mike pretty much just spent everything with no investments. Even though he's like, yeah, there's another check coming and I know I can make more money next week. But he didn't invest in nothing. He didn't do nothing to capitalize on what he had. This is what I mean by a three-dimensional thinker and a two-dimensional thinker. A three-dimensional thinker is thinking about the long haul, the possibilities, investing in the future for the most part. He's being more calculated about the moves that he's making right now, how he's assessing that the moves he make today and how can they affect him 4 or 5 years from now. And not just, a figure of speech, where a two-dimensional thinker is thinking about right now. He's thinking about the moment. He's thinking about the day. He's not worried about the future. He's like, fuck it, I work hard. And I'm just saying this hypothetically speaking about Mike. I work hard. I want to enjoy myself, but he has the discipline to invest. He doesn't have the patience or the skill to wait and put money and see what happens to decide as the future investments. See, here's the difference. When John invested his money into the stocks and investing, yeah, he took a hard hit just say he took a hard hit in the second month. He lost $100. So that $200 he invested, his stock dropped down to only worth $100, to where Mike bought them Jordans, and as soon as the moment he bought them and put them on his feet, it decreased in value automatically. So Mike can never get money back from the Jordans. He can never gain value. He just automatically lose. His Jordans is worth nothing. He didn't put no money aside. He didn't save no money, to where John has put 200 in the stock market. And let's say, like I said, he took a hard hit in that second month, lost $100. Now, let's fast forward to 6 months from him losing $100. He didn't sell his stock. He held on to the contract, a trade option. Let's say he had like a year worth of trade option. Or I'm just hypothetically speaking. So don't at me like, oh, you can't get that. I'm just hypothetically speaking. He had a trade option for a year, it said. Now he took that hard hit in the second month. Now we're on the 5th month. John has automatically woke up one morning and seen that the investment that he lost $100 when he invested too is up to $1,200 now. He's like, oh wow, I did my homework. I have faith in this company. I took my gamble and chances. I calculated my outcome, and assess all possibilities, what could go wrong, and my percentage chances of getting it right. So he has additional $400 from that first check, let alone what he had put away on top of that, as well as $1,200. So let's hypothetically say John has $4,000 saved up in his account. From the investment he including. Now I'm not going to I'm going to keep it pretty much basic. I don't want to break down too much. I want to keep it simple. So he has $4,000, $1,200 investment that he did with a $2,800 that he sat to the side within 6 months. Now Mike, on the other hand, might have $400 saved up because he's worried about right now, and that's where the three-dimensional mind is. A three-dimensional mind in the short terms, think about the future possibilities, investments he could capitalize on the future, to where a two-dimensional mind is thinking about the moment right now and how can they live just for the moment. So, with that being said, men, you guys are naturally a three-dimensional thinking being. Is there a woman who could be three-dimensional thinkers? Absolutely. But for the most part, men have able to, that's how the Most High designed men to be leaders, protectors, and teachers. So as long as you know how to access your 3D mind, you can become a three-dimensional thinker. It's not a hard thing to do. You just have to have instilled discipline in you, have knowledge about about what you're trying to pursue. And if you don't have that knowledge, how can you attain knowledge to what you want to do? You know what I mean? And invest in yourself to where a two-dimensional mind is more of right now, what's current right now. And this is what I mean when you guys hear me on Alpha Talk series say a three-dimensional thinker, two-dimensional thinker. You know, you're assessing your possibilities of the decisions you make today that could change the outlook 2 or 3 years from now, 4 years from now, to where a 2D mind is only thinking about right now. They don't care about the future. There is a lot of men who have two-dimensional minds, you know. So I want to break that down to you guys so you guys have a full thinking capability, you know. And this is all like all these series is gonna pretty much collide and go with each other. At least that's what I try to offer. So, you know, you guys got to be very mindful about what you're doing. As men, you should always be mindful about your future, your savings, and investing. That's how the so-called successful people in the United States, or all around the world, should I say, anywhere in the world, that's how they think. They're not spending money on fruitless and fruitlessly things, you know. Sometimes you, like I said, it's going to take a great amount of discipline, and you have to be content with that, let alone dedicated to whatever you try to achieve in life. You know, that's where the hard works come, and your outcome of success could be much more greater than a two-dimensional mind who just waiting for life to hand him something or hoping that he lucks up on a lottery ticket, you know. And it took me a long time to realize this. I'm 35 and I'm still like, putting the puzzles together here. But as men, you know, especially if you have a family, you always want to be thinking ahead. You always want to observe possibilities, and let alone you always want to have something saved and some kind of investments. Understanding what investments are, it's easy, you know, something that gains value over time. You know what I mean? Not lose and decrease in value. I'm going to say this. Cars, for the most part, lose value the moment you buy them, drive them off the car lot. On these particular certain cars, I'm not going to say every single car because you got unique cars. Let's say somebody bought, what can I say? A Toyota Camry. You know, that Camry, it's a pretty common car. It's not really high on the market, but yeah, they got all the qualities and features to it. Modern day technology installed in it. Say a 2018 Toyota Camry. The moment somebody goes and sign a lease agreement to make payments on this car, they automatically lose. So let's say the car costs $19,000 for that Camry. You know, they sign a 5-year lease agreement. So that $19,000 with interest goes up to about, I don't know, I'm just hypothetically speaking. So guys, don't quote me and shit, but that $19,000 go up to $24,000 now over a 5-year interest. So the time that customer get done paying for that car, he's not going to get half of what he paid for that car when he turns around and tries to sell it. Now, all this depends on how the shape and condition too. All that, you know, all that's factoring into the total value of the car. But he's not going to get nowhere close to what he paid for that car. And that's, you have to understand business and marketing, because that same car, that Camry, the dealership would say, hey, look, it's worth this much. It's like I said, with everything being said, a customer paid $24,000. Let's say he paid it off within 5. Let's say he paid it off in 3 years, 4 years. We're going to stick 3 years, and he wants something new now. Now he knows he's not going to get that $24,000 back. That's already down the hole. That's already gone. You know, that's out the window. So let's say he put it up on, I don't know, Craigslist for $7,000. Somebody calls, say, hey, look, I don't got 7, but I got $55,500. Now he can either sell it, or he could go back to, let's say he leased that car through CarMax. He could take that car back to CarMax and say, hey, look, I want a newer vehicle, and I know I'm not going to get what I paid for, but can I do a trade-in? So CarMax will assess the car, the condition of the car. They say, yeah, we'll do a trade-in, but what kind of car are you looking to get? Now, let's say this person upgraded on a new career, a new job. They have a little bit more money to spend towards car payments. So from a Toyota Camry, he's trying to upgrade to a Range Rover now. Now, the difference with the payments was the Camry was $325 a month, to where the Range Rover is, let's say this person had good credit, so it's about $600 a month. Well, $700 a month for a 2013 Range Rover. Now, you know, the salesman deserves all, you know, the credit background report on, the person's credit. And they tell the client, hey, look, after we did an assessment over your Camry, we could take a trade-in value for $4,000. But if you put down, well, since you've been with us, we'll take it for $4,000, and your payments, instead of paying, say, $700, let's say this person in have no money to put down payment. We'll give it to you Now Range Rover, let's say it's a 2019. This is automatically, I'm just hypothetically speaking, $40,000 car. They say, we'll give it to you for $40,000, $38,000. Try to make it seem like he's getting a deal. But, yeah, we'll give it to you for $38,000. You have to sign another 5-year lease, and we'll count your Camry as $4,000. So you guys, like, yeah, you get a new car in the end, but you also, your outputs of money is increasing. Now, it all depends on the range of car you get in year and condition and so on. I'm just hypothetically speaking. For automobiles, they're a liability. I mean, you do have cars out there, like numerous of cars. I'm hypothetically speaking again. Let's say, I don't know, a Dodge Viper, low mileage, great condition. Let's say like just like how we moving into the new age. They said this Dodge Viper's early series, like 1998 Dodge Viper, mint condition, under 1,000 miles. So underneath 1,000 miles on the speedometer. So that Dodge Viper, they're not making no more manual gated sticks, which means a shifter in the middle. Everything in the new age, for most people know, is paddle shifters. So that Dodge Viper, if somebody was to buy that when they bought it and kept it, never drove it like that, kept the maintenance up, kept it clean and mint condition. Let's say they bought it for $50,000 back in 1998. Now that car, since they're not making that, it goes up in value. You understand me? So it's more like that car, that person bought that car for $38,000. Now that car is sitting up at $90,000 to $100,000 K, especially with the conditions, the terms and everything it's in. So you guys, as a three-dimensional thinker, it's up to you to know and understand the investments that you're making, decisions you decide to make now, and how they can benefit you in the long run. Where a two-dimensional thinker is only worried about right now. Well, let's say that same example I gave you guys with a two-dimensional thinker, but it's the same thing, except he don't have a Dodge Viper. Every 3 or 4 years, he's trading in cars. So, he's getting a new car, but there's no value. He's not getting nothing out of it, but except a new car, a new lease agreement, leasing the car, but he gains nothing more out of it than just a new car. So no, this is just hypothetically ideas and educational examples I'm giving you. But, I don't want to pick too many people's brains apart. I want to keep it basic, and I feel like I have. So, you guys just do your due diligence on understanding what it is to invest. I'm going to give you one more example before I close out. It's almost like planting seeds. Anybody know photosynthesis and how plant life works? It's just like that. Let's say somebody planted, an oak tree back in, let's say somebody planted an oak tree in 2022 and somebody else planted a tomato bush. Now, that tomato bush grew within a year and it produced fruit, where the oak tree took about 8 or 9 years to be fully matured. So the person who had the tomato plants, he got money right then and there, or not money, but tomatoes within 7 to 8 months, probably less than that, probably like 3 or 4 months in harvest season. But he cut the whole plant down to where that person who planted the oak tree had to wait about 7 to 8 years for it to blossom and be fully matured. But let's say that oak tree is now sitting on property to where he owns, and somebody looks to purchase this property from. Now with that oak tree sitting on the side, it gives a whole new perspective to the property. Somebody wants to build a house and say, I love that oak tree. I would pay you $50,000 just for this little property that you own. Let's say somebody own 1 acre or 2 acres with the oak tree, and the person who built the house is on the outlines of the 2 acres of that oak tree. Now he's like, oh, look, I'll give you $50,000. And I'm just hypothetically speaking. These are just magical numbers. I'll give you $50,000 for that 2 acres because of that oak tree. Yeah, that person who planted that 7 years ago didn't plan on that. He just was thinking about the long term. Like, I want to plant an oak tree and I'm not going to sell my 2 acres until this thing fully grows. Now he just made $50,000 off a 5-7 year investment he did when he just did it. He owned 2 acres. He didn't think much of it. He was thinking he wanted to see what an oak tree looked like when it's fully blossomed and matured. And now it increases 2 acres 3 times the food that he bought it for. So, that's going to be it for today. Like I said, this is, I know I named this show differently in the beginning, but as I saved the project, we're going to switch the name to Understanding a 3D and a 2-dimensional Mindset, Part 1. With that being said, hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. This is Auxakai, aka Alpha Talk Series. We out of here.